Hello, welcome to the Arsaholics podcast on Saturday night, 10:15 p.m. in the UK. Big win against Aston Villa today. I'm here reflecting on it with Mize and Aaron. Hello, boys.
Evening.
Hi, mate.
How's it going?
All good. Doing well. Happy day today. Nice start to the weekend. Good to obviously win and see what happens tomorrow with the other lot playing West Ham. But yeah, very, very happy with the result today.
It's a big result. Before we go on, something I always forget to do. Please, guys, please like, share, subscribe. I need to maybe just write a post-it note on the screen to remind myself to say that going forward.
It's a standard thing, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, exactly. But please do, because we take it personally if you don't. Also, obviously, not to forget, because it's Saturday night as well. I think everyone's drinking apart from Aaron. So actually, a bit of context also. This is a COVID-stricken team, yeah. So we didn't record after the Liverpool game. Apologies for that. Part of that reason is because Mize was the only one who actually ended up being able to go to the game. COVID just decimated the rest of us. So I had COVID. Aaron's got COVID. And Nero, okay, yeah, we haven't seen Nero on the pod for a while. He's got COVID.
He's actually had COVID for the last 6 months.
yeah, exactly. So everyone's had COVID. I've just tested negative for the first time in about 10 days, but Aaron still got it. But anyway, that was the reason why not all of us went to the game, but Mize did, and obviously has some reflections he can share with us all. But it's Saturday night as well, so. Me being clear from COVID, I'm in the mood for celebrating, so I've got whiskey again. Not that I need a excuse to have a drink. Mize has got his whiskey out as well because it's Saturday night, and Mize likes
it's Saturday night. We never record on a Saturday, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And Aaron in his
I've got some orange juice.
He's on his J2S.
Yeah.
Vitamin C. Good boy. Yeah. Good boy. That's what being married to a doctor does to you.
Yeah, just cuts off. Yeah, everything healthy is the only thing I can drink now. So orange juice and coconut water has been my two drinks of choice over the last week.
That's good. That's very coconut water. I mean, that
was your recommendation.
That's me.
Right?
Thank you very much. It still winds me up about how much it costs in the UK. Given whenever I go on Sri Lanka,
more expensive here than it is.
Well, because it's in Sri Lanka, right?
Okay, right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's you go on the road and it's. Well, one pen.
We just take off the tree.
We take off the tree. But let's just to say, to give the people in employment, because the people who are actually selling it, even the guys who sell it on the road, it's 1p, 1 penny, 1 English penny's worth of rupees is how much you have to pay for a coconut to drink right out of the coconut, and you pay £2.50 or whatever it is for a liter of coconut water here. It's mental. But anyway, enough about that. Hey, anyway, whiskey costs what it costs, but it obviously does a job, does a different kind of job. But we are celebrating as well, not just us gradually getting through COVID. We're celebrating a really important win today. The only Premier League game of the day was today, and that was us and Villa. So someone made a joke about it on Twitter again. It's Arsenal are the only Premier League game today, so we're obviously going to be second on match of the day. But yeah, guys, just tell me, obviously, again, that period of the season where every result is a huge result. Every game's massively important. But today, away at Villa, to go and get the win, 5 away wins in a row now. Mize, how do you feel, mate? What's your feeling? Initial thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't actually all that confident going into the game today, to be honest. I felt like it wasn't even as a result. It wasn't even off the back of what happened against Liverpool. It was more, I just felt like, and still do feel like Villa are a very, very strong team. They've done really well under Gerrard, albeit results have been kind of mixed. But I feel like performances-wise, the arrival of Coutinho, players like Jacob Ramsey, Ollie Watkins, they've got really dangerous players. And I feel like they have been growing under Gerrard in the last few weeks or couple of months. So I was a little bit concerned about today, and I guess when you also factor in the kind of lack of rest that we've had between the Liverpool game and this morning, and the fact that we've got a fairly small squad size and means that we can't really rotate, I was quite concerned. So I was, to be honest, I think if we'd have got a draw, I mean, depends on how the game goes, and how it pans out. But I think, before the game, I probably would have taken a draw. I feel like it would have been a decent point. Yeah, I think so. I think it would have been a decent point. Because like I said, I felt like it would be I think it still was quite a tough game. I think we came through it, and the overall performance was good. Where I felt like I don't want to say we defended really well. We did defend well, but it wasn't like we were back to the wall defending. But I feel like we had good control of the game, and I think majority of the players put in a very, very good performance. But yeah, I mean, look, just coming back to sort of my feelings before the game and going into it, I was concerned. So to come away with 3 points, for me, it's probably one of the biggest wins of the season. Every win's big, every 3 points is big, but I feel like, and I think you saw it at the end of the game as well. Like the scenes are at the end of the game, the players and the fans, everyone going to Leno, Ramsdale getting onto the pitch, and I think you really saw like what that win meant, because we really, really did kind of grind out a 1-0. Like I say, a tough away ground to go to. So yeah, I mean, look, basically my feelings are absolutely over the moon. We're in a fantastic position in terms of 10 games to go, our league position, our points total, the sort of the distance that we're building between ourselves and the other teams around us, with a game or two in hand. I think a game in hand maybe. It's all looking really, really good. So yeah, obviously really, really happy.
Anything to add there, Aaron?
No, I'd agree. I think this is definitely, this and the first Wolves at the Wolves away game, I think, were our two biggest away wins of the season so far. Mainly because this one, I think, I don't think like you said, Miles, I wouldn't have been happy with the draw, but you could almost understand it if we drew, given the fact that we had a tough midweek game, and we'd lost Ramsdale and we'd lost Martinelli before kickoff. Therefore, there were excuses there. And then that with Villa doing, being a good team, having Coutinho, Ramsey, and a few good other players, it's a type of game that this time last season, I felt we would have dropped points in. And to come away with 3 points, but also with it, I don't know how comfortable you felt it was, but actually I think when you look back, it was a pretty comfortable performance, even though it was only 1-0. I think that the team deserved a lot of credit there, especially given the fact that, we were missing two key players, and then towards the end of the game, we took a few more players off. So really by the end of the game, it was, a very looking a bit makeshift, that team, to be honest. But no, it's a huge win, and top full marks to Arteta and the team, because I'm very surprised that we won, but I'm super happy that we did it.
But we talked about narratives in a couple of episodes ago, where we talked about it potentially being more important as to the situation of the team that you're playing against, as opposed to exactly where they sit in the league. So, i.e., is it harder right now to play a relegation battling team than it is a mid-table team? Do you think today was an example of that, Miles, in some ways? Did we benefit from the fact that we played against a team today who basically aren't playing for anything? They're completely safe. They're ninth in the league, which actually surprised me. Actually, I didn't realize they were that high up in the league. Yeah, exactly. When you think about some of these other teams that actually we think, oh, they're going to give us a hard game, like Leicester played recently. Obviously, we've got Palace coming up, whatever. Villa are higher up than those guys, right? So anyway, so back to the original point, Miles. Do you think in that way was it a bit easier playing a team who actually didn't have anything to fight for?
I don't think so. No, I think before the game, 11 games to go for us. There's still a fairly big chunk of the season to to play. Okay, they don't necessarily have, maybe they're not I guess they wouldn't be targeting European football. So I get where you're saying and where the question's coming from, but I think with this long of the season left, I'm not really sure if teams really approach games like that. Like you wouldn't say, it's like 3-4 games to go, and they kind of feet up, knowing that they're safe and they're going to finish either 9th or 10th. Like there's still there's a lot of points to play for, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think when you've got a manager like Steven Gerrard, not to say that other managers are different in terms of their kind of expectations of their teams, but I feel like, you know, he's still new in the job. He's obviously he wants to show what he can do against kind of like a big side, a side going for the top 4. And he's, you know, he's got a winner's mentality. So I'm going to pause there.
Sorry there, everyone. We had a bit of a technical issue there. So we just had to start recording again. We can't exactly remember where we finished off, but it will kind of lead me on to another like important question, guys, you know, regarding the Villa game today. Obviously, what was quite unexpected in the lineup today? Well, there were 2 unexpected changes, I guess. One was Martinelli was ill, and so he wasn't in the squad at all, and Emile Smith-Rowe came in. But, you know, as we know, that kind of unit of that kind of foursome, if you like, relatively interchangeable, and you know, through form or through whatever, we you know, we kind of expect in some ways that someone's going to play and someone isn't. But the one that was pretty unexpected was Ramsdale being injured. So, you know, allegedly Aaron Ramsdale picked up an injury in the middle of the Liverpool game and played apparently through the majority of the Liverpool game with that injury, and was declared unfit for this game today as a result. And Bernd Leno stepped in for his first Premier League start of the season since the defeat to City 5-0 or whatever it was way back when, but when we couldn't score a goal and all we could do was concede. You know, it feels like a lifetime away, but you know, he got his Premier League start. And I mean, what did you guys think? It was because a clean sheet. Arguably, he didn't really have that much to do. But what did you guys think of his performance today?
I'm really happy for him, man. Just because, you know, since Ramsdale's come in, Ramsdale's obviously been fantastic and a clear upgrade on Leno. Let's not kid ourselves there. But there's this notion going around, or there was, that Leno was a bad goalkeeper, and he really wasn't. Like, Leno would walk into, you know, I would argue probably most of the Premier League sides as their number 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah, outside of like maybe the top 5 or 6 teams. And, you know, the way he's conducted himself over the last year, you know, he's clearly a top goalkeeper. He's lost his place to someone superior, which is, you know, that's sport. But he hasn't moaned about it. He hasn't made a scene about it. He hasn't, you know, we haven't had links from agents briefing about his contract or wanting to go somewhere else. Even during January, where, you know, if he really wanted to, he could have pushed for a move. He didn't. And he's come in the cup games, and, you know, he hasn't really had a cup run because we got knocked out of the FA Cup pretty early. And, you know, although we did go quite far in the League Cup, you know, he probably would have liked to have played more. And yeah, like you could, and I thought he did well where he needed to do well. You could clearly see where, you know, there was a gap. For example, I thought his kicking today was awful. I thought there were a few times today where he just kind of kicked long into, you know, either into touch straight away or just gave it straight to the opposition. But Leno's always been a good shot stopper, in my opinion. He's always been, you know, quite vocal, pretty good at organising the defence around him. You know, he's probably not as good as Ramsdale at like commanding his box, but, you know, his experience was clearly useful today. And you could see if it was another number 2 who was, you know, a clear step down, I think that would have caused panic at the back. And, you know, he came in and it was, you know, credit to the defenders and credit to the team for just making that transition look effortless, but it did look effortless. And, you know, he made a big save at the end there, which I'm super happy for him, because it just seemed like, you know, when he came at full time, for example, you know, everyone went to congratulate him. So even Ramsdale came on and gave him a massive hug. And, you know, this is the dream situation when you've got, you know, a number 1 who's top quality, a number 2 who also can come in, and you don't see a huge drop off, and they're both happy to play that role. You know, it's a shame the situation is unlikely to continue into next season, but it's a good problem to have.
And it's kind of script. It's a funny script to it, wasn't it, as well? His game back in the team is against Aston Villa, and Aston Villa's goalkeeper is Martinez, and that
His arch
whole
nemesis.
kind of exactly that whole thing in the background. I would argue that Leno is the best number 2 in the Premier League in terms of kind of what he's proven as a proven goalkeeper. I think I tweeted something to this effect, and I think a West Ham fan came in and said Areola is a better number 2, and I kind of thought about it. And I thought, number 1 is Fabianski. I'm not sure that I would. Do you know what I mean? Like, no disrespect. I know Fabianski's done well at West Ham, but I'm not going back there. Do you know what I mean? So look, but kind of Myers, on that basis of Leno, Leno's an established international keeper to some extent, as much as you can when you play for Germany and you've got Neuer and Ter Stegen, but he's generally prior to getting dropped by Arsenal within the Germany squad, etc., etc. So he's this proven goalkeeper. Arteta said before the game that it looks like Ramsdale's out for a few weeks. Let's assume, for argument's sake, that's a genuine statement and it isn't just something to get him out of international football. Does it concern you that Ramsdale's going to be out for a few weeks and Leno's going to have to step in?
Yeah, I think. Well, look, like Aaron summed it up quite nicely, right? In terms of it's a nice problem to have, in the sense that you couldn't really ask for a much better number 2 for all the reasons Aaron gave. So it doesn't concern me in the sense that like the drop off in quality, it's not massive. I guess the areas that it does concern me mainly is probably, again, what Aaron touched on, is probably around distribution. Is one of the things that Ramsdale's very, very good at. And I think with the way that the fact that the back 4 and Ramsdale have played consistently together now for the last however many games, pretty much since the first 3 or so games of the season, they've developed that trust and understanding when we have a goal kick or when Ramsdale basically has the ball, we play short a lot of the time, and the defenders have the trust in each other and in Ramsdale for that to work, and have obviously been working on that through kind of on the job experience, as it were, right, in matches, and it's improved tremendously. And I think that's probably an area that Leno lacks. We probably didn't see it as too much today. Like Aaron has said, there were a few kind of longer passes that didn't really hit the target. I guess you could argue who is the target when you're like looking towards the front line for Arsenal. There's no Tomiyasu going, sitting on the touchline, ready to receive a header. There's not, Lacazette's not going to win things in the air. So maybe you can't put too much blame on Leno for that. But I think that's one area where it could become a factor in certain games. But again, like, I guess if we're playing well and we're kind of dominating games and we're scoring goals, then it might not become too much of an issue, if that makes sense. And hopefully that's the case. Other than that, it isn't a massive concern. Like we're not going from say Ramsdale to Runarsson, like we would have, or Leno to Runarsson last season. It kind of feels like the Leno to Martinez type of situation. But we know what we're going to get from Leno. So look, he's overall a pretty reliable, dependable goalkeeper. Loads of experience, like you say, international, and all of that. So. I think we should be okay. Like, hopefully we should be okay. And I guess like it coincides nicely with the international break. So hopefully it just means Ramsdale might be back for the Palace game, which I think is the first one straight after the break. So,
and reflecting a bit more broadly, right? So because we didn't record after Liverpool, but we should reflect on that to some degree. We've played Liverpool. We lost 2-0. We lost against a team who have recently won the Champions League, a team that have recently won the Premier League, a team that could go on and win the Premier League this season. I mean, at the end of the day, a team of established pros who, a lot of them are at the very top of their game. They beat us a scoreline which looks like it's a comfortable scoreline, winning 2-0 away from home. We've now gone on and beaten Villa away. As a general point, because it feels like everyone's probably moved away from the specifics of the Liverpool game. But as a general point, after these 2 games, guys, I mean, Aaron, have you learned anything new about Arsenal after these 2 games?
I learned a lot after today, but almost nothing after Liverpool. In the sense that I always said that Liverpool would be a bit of a free hit, in that as long as we didn't get completely smashed, like 5 or 6-0, or if we didn't have loads of injuries, something like that. I always thought, the only way, if we'd beaten Liverpool, no one would ever thought we are a better team than Liverpool now. If we had drawn, we might have said, okay, this team's got a bit of fight in it, but we lost to a team that are clearly better than us, and a team that are, already Liverpool, one of the best teams, argue, in the world, and they're on form, having won like 8 games in a row. That was always going to be a very, very difficult task, and fair play to them. They made it look pretty comfortable in the end, and you could see where our gaps were. And we probably don't need to go into too much depth there, but it was clear that, as Arteta put it, we had gaps, you could say, like in the box in terms of dealing with their chances, but also giving them something to deal with from us. But today I learned a lot, in the sense that I was really unsure how much character this squad had. Like, I know we've seen like this squad go on a bit of a journey so far in terms of like growing as a team. We've seen the manager grow, and I think you said you weren't confident before the game. Wise, I wasn't confident, just given the what was at stake, because we'd just played Liverpool, for example, 3 days ago. We'd lost a couple of players, but also just in the context of the fact that it was 3 days and then it was an international break. I just felt that this was in the back of my mind, like, if we drop points here, we had like 2 weeks to just think about this, analyze this, and it would have possibly set a bit of a trend. And all the ingredients were there for us to drop points, and we didn't. And I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of the overall performance today. But I thought we actually, in the first half, we played really, really well. We probably should have made it, put the game out of sight, because I think our performance deserved more than that. But I thought overall, like, you can't argue with the fact that we deserved to win that game. So to do that away at Villa, a team who are 9th, you said, is a huge result. And the context of that is like something like 5 away wins in a row, which is ridiculous. Like, when was the last time we've done that?
They did say that today. I can't remember, but it's a number. You have to go back
2015, wasn't it?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
go back a number of years.
Yeah, so it's like, that's really, really impressive. Our away form in the second half of the year has been what's really surprised me the most, because not only are we're going away, we are asserting ourselves on opposition, and we're coming away with results. Even when, for example, we have a couple of players out, we don't have a huge amount of recovery time. So I'm learning something new about this team every week.
Well, is there anything that you learned over the last 2 games?
Well, the point I was going to make, probably not necessarily answering your question directly, but the thing that I noticed, and it's a little bit of a trend, and I guess because we're winning so many games at the moment, it's probably not something that maybe it's being picked up on, but it's not being highlighted too much, is that when we score a goal, we do have this habit of kind of then going into a bit of a shell and kind of sitting off teams and not necessarily going for the second. Like, it happened today. I think there's been previous games, like the Leeds game, for example, that wasn't the case, but I think I've seen it a few times. I think it has been picked up on, and that's a slight concern, in the sense that the very top teams don't do that. And I know we're not there yet, and that's kind of where we kind of strive to get to. That's a level we strive to get to. But when we scored today, like Aaron had said, we had a very, very good first half. Smith Rowe had a good chance. Obviously, Saka scored. There might have been a couple of other kind of opportunities in that first 30 minutes or so. Then we scored, and then Villa seemed to kind of come on to us. And there probably are going to be games where that might cost us. And the other team of maybe a little bit of a higher quality, we've obviously got some big games coming up against better teams in the run-in. And yeah, that may cost us. So that's something that I wouldn't necessarily say I learned today as such, but something that I've definitely noticed. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but definitely something I noticed from the performance today, which is not really a criticism, but it's just something that I'm hoping that Arteta's picking up on and is addressing however that is on the training pitch and when he speaks to the players. Don't know if you guys feel the same.
I don't know. I used to feel like that. I don't know if I feel like that anymore. Like, there was a clear point, maybe towards the end of last calendar year, where I felt like, yeah, we went ahead and then we just stopped playing. But I do feel like in the last couple of games, we're learning to at least yeah, maybe we don't create the chances, but we're still controlling possession a lot better. And we are making it harder for teams to play against us. And at least, even if we're not creating chances, it's not like I don't think Villa created loads of chances against us. And
True.
I just think when we're on the ball, we make it very, very hard to play against. I just think Villa didn't really know what to do for a huge period of time. And it was probably the same in the first half against Liverpool. We played pretty well. We controlled the ball well, but actually in that second half, Liverpool actually made some tactical adjustments and figured out how to, beat the way we play. And Villa just didn't have a reply to that. So I'm not super. I was worried about it, Miles, but I'm not worried about it as much now because I think we're just getting really good on the ball.
I guess the point I'm sort of more trying to make is when we go 1-0 up at that stage in a game, kind of fairly early on, first half, I want us to get to the, in the next, maybe not this season, but the one of the next kind of targets needs to be, right, it's 1-0, make it 2-0, make it 3-0, kill the game off, do what Liverpool do what City do. That's what the best teams do. And then there's just no chance of, a Xhaka happening or a dodgy penalty being given or a dodgy VAR decision, all the things that we've seen over the course of the season. So I guess, like I said, it's not really a criticism. It's just something that I've picked up on that we're not doing that the top teams do, be very, very clinical with not even clinical, but just finish the game as soon as we possibly can. And maybe we just don't, we're just not there yet. It's fair enough. But like I say, there might be the odd game or two that it might come back to bite us a little bit if that happens in the next 10
I think I agree with that. I think I don't think we're there yet. I think you add a striker into like a proper goal scoring striker, you probably get a half chance when you're 1-0 up and you take it and then you kill off the game. But it still does seem like, as good as we are playing now, it still does seem we do have to work really, really hard to create those good goal scoring chances. Even today's goal, it was a shot from distance in a crowded box, which they all count the same. But apart from that, how many times did we cut them open? Not that many. And I do wonder if that will cost us at some point. But it seems like we're doing okay at the moment. So
it seems like we're just happy to 1-0 it as much as we can.
I'll take it. Don't get me wrong.
And it's probably in some ways it's going to be a good blueprint to how a lot of the rest of the games are going to be, because we are away a lot. We've got a lot of away games, and those aren't against teams who are particularly straightforward. We've got Palace away left. We've got Tottenham away left. We've got Chelsea away left. Got to get used to games where we're probably not going to be cutting teams open that much at all, and it's going to be about trying to be really ruthless and really clinical, something which you'd argue is something that we've still got to learn. But I think at least the positive is we're kind of getting in this normality of games where we're having to work very hard for the whole game. And it looks like, because our more straightforward home fixtures seem to come in the last 5 games of the season. And we can go on to that and touch a little bit more on, kind of our running in a second. One other thing I just wanted to ask your guys' opinion of is, and this may be the bit where I, something that I've noticed over the last couple of games and think, I wonder whether this could be unstuck. We could come unstuck in some ways with regards to this, is that it seems like we've got basically the same set of substitutions that generally are happening in every game. We could almost go into every game with 3 subs on the bench at this stage, right? because effectively the guys who are coming on every game are Pepe, Eddie, and Holding, and it's like a really straightforward process. It's effectively at some point Pepe will come on to change up one of the wide men. At some point Lacazette will be tired, so then Eddie comes on, and then when we're winning, we release emergency holding protocol. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's like, right, press the button, finishing. So it's this really like kind of set thing, which seems to be working. It's fine. If you're winning games 1-0 by small margin, whatever, it's actually quite sensible. You can understand why that's sort of happening. But today was a bit concerning for me because whereas against Wolves, for example, when we were at home and we brought in Pepe and Eddie, and that worked really well, today it felt like they significantly dropped the level of the team when they came on. It was a really poor performance by both those guys. what do you guys think of that? And does that give you any concerns with regards to, again, like, you know, if we are going to be able to, we're going to need to use our bench in the next 10 games? Did that performance, I don't know what maybe what I want you to focus the answer on, whether it's Pepe and Eddie's performance levels themselves, or just kind of the narrow choice that we have outside of them. Any thoughts, Miles?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, I think it was obvious, right? You pointed out Pepe was awful when he came on today. I don't think there's any other way of putting it. I don't.
Eddie wasn't much better, though, was he?
Eddie wasn't particularly good. I feel like Eddie. So we were talking about this, right, in the chat as the game was going on, and I guess it was at that point of the game where it was very, very tense and nervy, and we weren't sure what was going to happen, and like we were basically shitting ourselves. So it didn't help, kind of watching Eddie come on and basically not really put himself about. And I think I said, how is it possible that Eddie's been on for 5 minutes and is 10 years younger than Laka, and he's already like not running as anywhere near as much as Laka was. And yeah, I didn't really understand that. You know, pressing wasn't there, and just putting in effort basically. And it just looks like he's not really that bothered, to be honest. But Pepe was just like, every touch wasn't really happening. He was making really dangerous, bad passes, giving the ball away. There was that one where he had the opportunity to knock it past one of the Villa players on kind of like the halfway line and just go around him and take it down the pitch, and he just hit it straight to the Villa player. So they were like, and the free kick right at the end, right, which obviously could have gone the other way very easily when you've got a player like Coutinho taking it. So yeah, those two subs, the two attacking subs, very worrying that was kind of the performance they put in when they came on. Less so about Pepe, because I feel like you just, like, I don't know, it's just a bit, something wasn't right today. Maybe it was just 20 minutes or however long he had that. Go on, what are you going to say, Aaron?
No, I was like, I honestly think they were just bad subs, in the sense that, look, when they came on against Wolves, we were chasing the game, right? We needed a goal. And when in there, you get them up there for their presence in the box, do something in the box. And Pepe and Eddie are, Pepe especially, are like the players that you want in the box. When the ball's getting into the box and nothing's happening, you bring on Pepe, and then you say, just do something in the box. That's where you want Pepe. Yeah. Where you don't want Pepe is a situation where you're 1-0 up, you're not going to get the ball in the box. And what you're trying to do is basically keep the ball by passing the ball and playing loads of like low risk passes and just basically suffocating the game. And Arteta's talked about this in the past, right? I think he said, it might have been against Watford, where he goes, at that point in the game, I just want the team to make 3,000 passes to each other and basically kill the game. So Arteta knows this. Why then do you bring on probably the two players who are least likely to help you make 3,000 passes in a year and a half?
Does he have an option in this case? So for example,
did
today,
he? Does he? I don't know. I think he, like, why can't
what's the alternative?
But today was but today seemed to be a situation where all I was going to say was today seemed a situation where Saka was taking a lot of kicks. So it may have been like, if this isn't a case where I'm bringing someone on because I think they're going to add a different skill set to this moment in time. This is more a case of, I need to take Saka off, and who is
no, I get that. So if Saka's if there were injuries, you've got to deal with that, right? So bringing Pepe on for Saka, like, fine, it sort of makes sense. I guess the question is it in that situation? Like, it then took off, I think, Odegaard and Lacazette, I believe. Now, I know Lacazette struggles to complete 90 minutes, but did he really need to take both of those players off when we've got an international break coming up? Sometimes I feel like Arteta, I think the thought process there was, right, I need to make subs because we played on Wednesday and the players are tired. But I think at that point, you really need to do things. And maybe he just has a lot more faith in the players than I do. But I think he should think, well, actually, is this the right sub for this point in the game? Because like you said, Roger, it's a bit default now where he says, right, it's come to this point, I need to bring these players on. So let me bring them on. And you're right, in a different game, we probably have one of Smith Rowe and Martinelli on the bench to bring on. So you argue that, and then you can bring on Holding. And then you maybe only need to bring on one of Pepe and Eddie Nketiah. So maybe it's just lack of options today, but I honestly thought, like, he should know better.
In theory, though, right? Those two players, Nketiah and Pepe, are pretty much the ideal two pretty good options when you're kind of under the cosh a little bit and you just want to you just need an out ball essentially, and you just want someone to either pick up the ball and carry the ball down the other end of the pitch, or you want someone with a lot of pace that you could just knock it over the top and they're going to run onto it, with Villa kind of, trying to get a goal back and pushing up the pitch. So I kind of like what you said, Aaron, and I feel like he probably sees these guys. Like I can imagine Nketiah is like unreal in training. Like I reckon he just bangs at every shot he takes. He probably smashes it into the corner.
Well, I think someone said, Ramsdale said this in there's a YouTube interview or something that said that when they play small-sided games, whoever's on Eddie Nketiah's team always wins. Because he just so basically, but he's obviously very good at five-side football, Eddie.
take him down goals on Monday.
Yeah. He hasn't just figured out how to make that step up. No, I joke. But no, you're right. I agree. I think this is one of those things that works on paper, right? I think the same thing. You got Pepe on loads of space, running, but when has he ever done that? Like when has Eddie ever done anything? Like at some point, you have to start thinking, okay, this is a nice idea on paper, but is this ever going to play out?
Your point about okay, did he really need to take them off? The players that he took off, like Ødegaard with an inside. But the thing is, this is the thing, right? We just don't really know the condition of these players, right? We literally don't know. So genuinely, Ødegaard might have been running on fumes or on the verge of, pulling something, whatever. And same with Saka. You got.
If that's the case, then he has no choice.
And you kind of have to trust that. He's not just blindly making subs because I've got subs to make, so I'm going to make them, and I've got a £70 million player on the bench, and Eddie, who I want to sign on for another year or whatever. You got to hope, you've got to have faith that he's making subs for the right reasons, basically. And I can imagine, like you said, Eddie and Pepe, I can imagine they probably both just unreal in training, and probably had a really good week in training. So okay, they're my option. I'm not going to bring Hutchinson on. I'm not going to bring.
No, who else was on the bench? Anyone else on the bench? Was Elneny on the bench?
Elneny was on the bench, yeah.
But if you talk about attacking options, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no one else, basically.
No.
So
no, it's interesting. No, it's good. I mean, we'll see how it pans out.
But it is a concern, though. I was just going to say, I don't know if you guys feel this, right? It is a bit of a concern because the squad now, a couple of more injuries today, as in prior to the game. Okay, international break, so hopefully we'll get a few players back, but equally some players could come back with injuries. And you're starting to see now, 10 games to go, where the squad is quite thin, and a Laka injury, we said it before, right? A Gabriel injury, whatever, a Tierney injury, it's looking a bit.
And that's probably why he's playing these guys, in some form most games, right? Because he's probably saying, he can't afford that.
They might need to, come and do a job. Yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is, with Eddie in particular, the thing that I'm really confused about with regards to him is, surely he should be thinking in his mind that he needs to put himself in the shop window in a big way. It's no guarantees that he gets a contract at a Premier League club. It's not a guarantee.
But see, are you then suggesting that he's not motivated?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's a motivation thing. I don't know whether it's a case where he is trying to, not necessarily wanting to, but the role that Arteta's asking him to do when he comes on the pitch, whether he's less focused on doing that and more focused on trying to, I don't know, do things which, he believes he's better at. I don't know. Basically, whatever it is, whether it's a lack of effort, whether it's a lack of kind of focus, whether there's just something else on his mind, whatever it is, he's not selling himself in any way.
I was thinking, there's this, obviously, we think that obviously if Eddie goes to another English club, he'll get some kind of fee based on a tribunal, right? I was just thinking, he's played every game this season, so this tribunal fee is probably going to be about 100 million quid based on the
exactly
appearance money.
It's true. There was
pretty much played every game this season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when Danny Ings had his tribunal, loads of, it's very interesting to see all the things that go into that. But anyway, just moving on very, very quickly before we talk about top four, there were two other things I really wanted to touch on actually. But one of those things, probably there's no need to expand on because we'll probably have to expand on it again. I was just going to talk about how it seems like every game right now, opposition fans players, whenever we win, are complaining about our celebrations. This is starting to really don't wind me up. But when has this ever been a thing?
What happened today? Who complained?
Ashley Young, basically in his interview, was one of those kind of passive aggressive, like, they're celebrating like they won their league. That just shows how good we are.
He did a Neves, did he?
Yeah, and it was one of those going, what is the big deal? Like, what is the problem? Why do people have such an issue with other or us at the moment celebrating wins? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get why this is a thing. It's never used to be a thing.
Just hating. They're just hating. Yeah, it's basically what it is. Right?
It's like, I think it's just everywhere at the moment. I saw, what was it, like when Leeds won the other day, I think against Norwich, when they scored a 92nd minute winner or something.
Mm.
And they're like, can't believe Leeds fans are celebrating. I was like, they've scored a 92nd minute winner.
Yeah.
Against their relegation rivals.
They've been getting smashed all over.
Yeah, when they've lost like 4 games in a row, first under a new manager. Like, why can't you celebrate? If you're not going to celebrate that, what are you going to celebrate?
Yeah, absolutely. Very separate note. When I've always found when a new manager comes in, it's obviously takes a while for everyone to win them over. As we know, we've talked about Arteta loads. We've talked about some fans being divided, etc., etc. And it feels like you need to get to that point in time, if you're lucky, where the fans start singing your name. And it feels like for the whole time, well, I can't recall, the whole time in Arteta's time at Arsenal so far, even though, as we've discussed quite frequently, the fans in the stadium seem very united behind what's going on at Arsenal. There hasn't been Arteta chants. It hasn't been, I've never heard an Arteta chant at the stadium. But today, it felt like the vast majority of songs that were being sung, well, the vast majority of the time that everyone was singing was this Arteta song that seems to have taken off now, right? There's, we've got Mikel Arteta, Tierney at the back, Gabby in attack, that song.
Yeah.
And they were singing it. They were going and singing it. And it felt great. It felt awesome. I mean, I loved hearing it.
I've never heard it before. I'd never heard it until this game. Was it only this game, or has it been going around?
I think it's been sung a bit before. Obviously, I guess like this is the thing with away games, right? You tend to get these sorts of chants, and it's a concentrate group of fans that have been together for the whole day, kind of thing, whatever, on the train and the pubs and whatever. So, and I guess once the chant gets going, it spreads to the other couple of thousand fans. So I think we probably haven't heard. I don't think I've ever heard it at a home game in my seat. I think I might have heard it in the concourse or maybe in the pub before. The concourse is now, like, obviously the Liverpool game, you guys weren't there, but the concourse before the game and at half time, like it's pretty raucous, like kind of what we saw with the North London derby. And I didn't hear that song, but the LA song, we obviously now adopted that song and got some good lyrics for it. That was going a lot, and beers were going up in the air and everything. So
oh wow.
I think you like just to kind of add to what you're saying, Raj, like we've got quite a few good songs with good lyrics and they're quite catchy. And it's not the standard kind of, Arsenal, we hear a lot. So like it's obviously helping with the atmosphere, and it's helping with that connection, I guess you could say, with manager, players, and fans.
It's good. Do you guys think it is? There's been a turning point, if you like. Let's just say, if have we got to a point now where there is almost unanimous fan support behind the manager?
Yeah, I mean, football fans are fickle people, and you just know the minute it goes wrong again, people will turn. But just generally, I think a lot of the fans that go to the ground at least, and the fans that we generally interact with, we've been very, very invested in Mikel Arteta and this journey and this vision for since he came in. We won the FA Cup with the kind of old team, and then it was very much let's hit the reset button. And last season we dipped, and rightfully people were questioning, is he the right man for the job? I think those questions were fair. And is he going to fix a clear, there were benefits, and you could see the positives, but there were a lot of negatives still, especially with the way we attacked and what is the plan here. And then we had that summer window, and then people really started to believe. And I just feel like the fan base is very much like the team and the manager all gone through this journey. And it feels now like, I don't want to get carried away, but it's starting to feel like that pain and that suffering that we endured with the first year and a half of Mikel Arteta's reign. Although we did, let's be honest, win an FA Cup during that time. So it was obviously wasn't that painful. But it's almost like it makes this part feel better. Because if Mikel Arteta had come at the start of this season, I'd be like, wow, this guy's world class, so what has he done? But because we've put up with that year of like, oh, this is a bit rubbish, but we're gonna keep the faith because we think there's something here. And then we see that something develop over the course of the whole season, really, from like the win at Leicester to the win at Wolves to the win today at Villa. We can start to like get excited. And I think that's then fueling the energy in the stands, and it grows, right? So then when we go to home games now, we're feeling a lot more excited to go to home games, and that brings the atmosphere up even more, and then that feeds onto the team on the pitch. And then you saw the reaction today, for example, when we won, all the players went to the stands. It was great, right? So there's just energy about the place at the moment, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, just to add to that, it obviously helps, right, that we're winning a lot of games at the moment, right? So,
what was it like on Wednesday then, for example, when we lost?
It was, I think there was just like an air of expectation. Like it was kind of expected. I think, like, obviously, I was missing you guys at halftime. I was very, very drunk on I was very drunk on Wednesday. No, to be honest, mate, I had to watch a lot of the game back to remember like a lot of the actual kind of. I'm glad we didn't do a podcast for this because I wouldn't have had much to say. But let's put it like that. But yeah, halftime, there was quite a bit of optimism. I went to get my beer with Jonathan, who took one of your seats, my cousin, and we went to get a beer, and we were like, oh my god, like we're not losing, and we played really well. And I think I messaged you guys saying we're going to win.
You're very specific. You're like Liverpool have been nullified.
So yeah, that's a combination of getting a bit excited plus alcohol. But yeah, like it wasn't. There were like, put it this way, there were no boos, there was no like jeering, there was no. It was, and even at the final whistle, the fans that did hang around, to be fair, a lot of fans did leave with like 5 or 10 minutes to go. We were 2-0 down, and it was a late kickoff and everything. The fans that did stay till the end, they gave the players a really, really good reception. And it was a similar atmosphere to what it's been like previously. We went 1-0 down, Jota scored, and the fans just started singing again. The North Bank started singing, the clock end started singing, and the atmosphere didn't really drop. So yeah, I think everyone, like you said, Aaron, and earlier, a bit of a free hit, and I think everyone knew that, and they, if you take an honest assessment, who the better team is, and that was it. It was almost like, okay, right, that game off is done. Go move to Villa. So yeah.
Guys, let's spend some. Sorry, go on.
No, go on. The one thing I want to say is, I think the one thing that's missing from this project so far is that big scalp where we go to a Liverpool, a Chelsea, or a Man City and beat them. And it was so close when we played City at our place on New Year's Day. But that's like, I think that will take this team and the fan base from here to like here in terms of belief.
It's a good point, actually. I hadn't even thought of that, but that's like a really good point. Like, I guess because we go into those games expecting to not really win them.
Yeah.
But, hopefully, that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought of that. It will change the perspective, and it will change the players' mentalities massively.
And externally, like, the pundits and other fans will probably start to take notice on it. I'm not saying that we're not getting that credit externally, because I think we are, but if we do go, if we go to Stamford Bridge and beat Chelsea, for example, or I don't know who else we've got left, or
Man
beat United or Spurs. I think we'd probably say between us that we probably expected at least give those two teams a game. But if we go to Chelsea or Liverpool next year or whatever and get a win, that will really lift this project to another level.
It's irony though, isn't it? Because over the last 2 years where we haven't actually done as well in the league, we've beaten those bigger teams a number of times, either in the cup or the league. We took 6 points off Chelsea last season.
Yeah, so in the context of the race for the top four, it's irrelevant, right? Because 3 points is 3 points. But for the kind of status of this team and the belief, I think it'll do a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's look forward, guys, because one of the reasons why it was such a huge reaction today is because it does. Every game has massive repercussions on the league table right now. So if we look at the league table right now, 28 games we've played, we've got 54 points. So we're 4 points above Man United, who are in fifth. We've got a game in hand over them. It's really interesting as well, right? Because Chelsea are 5 points above us. And I mean, in order for them to retain that 5-point cushion, I mean, they've won 5 games in a row. So they've been winning games, and they've been on a very good run on form. We're almost a little bit unlucky in that respect that they've been on such good form, because that gap itself could have been closed. But I think sometimes it's important to contextualize the point situation, I tried to do it last week, and I'll revisit that kind of methodology where 72 points has been a point total which it would have got you third or fourth in the last 3 years. 72 points would have got you that. So we are 18 points away from that, right? So we've got 10 games left. That's 18 points. It's about 6 wins away. We could lose 4 games and win 6, and we could get there. So just from context, kind of, from that, obviously that's not how it works, and it just depends on how you're doing in relative terms to everyone else. But just taking all that into context, and taking the fact that we've gone through this kind of 5-game period where we've won 4 out of 5, and that one that we've lost to is Liverpool. We're just about to enter a new 5-game period, which in itself has its challenges, right? So we've got, I think I'll just read out the order of the games, but we've got Crystal Palace first, then we've got Brighton at home, Southampton away, Chelsea away, and then United at home. So it is a tricky period. There are games which on paper you should probably think Arsenal should be winning, but overall, guys, how do you feel right now in terms for this race for top 4? How are we placed?
So I mean, so for me, the main factor, because I look at the next 3 games as 3 games that we absolutely have to win, or maybe not win all 3, maybe win 2, draw 1, but we need to be taking a good number of points from those 3 games going into the Chelsea and United games. And the main factor for me is going to be like in basically how healthy our squad is looking, or how healthy our first team is looking, and the injuries that we might have. Now, the next game is obviously not for a couple of weeks, so who knows like what the situation is going to be. And I think I said this before, right? Players might come back from international duty with injuries. And on the flip side, people like Ramsdale, Martinelli should be back, and Tomiyasu might be back as well. So that because I just feel like we're so dependent on that basically first 11, the first 11, the starting 11, and a couple of other players that come off the bench, like we talk about the 3 players that come off the bench every game. If we start to see holes in that, that's where we're going to start basically facing problems, because there is a big drop off in quality from some of the first team players. We don't have like Leno's all over the pitch essentially as our kind of deputies in those positions. That's my main concern. I think if we have a pretty much fully fit side for those 3 games, then I feel like we'll get very close to 9 points personally, unless something kind of crazy happens in the game itself, and just like whatever, a red card or penalty or some sort of decision that goes against us. So overall, to answer your question, I'm feeling like very, very confident. The run in itself, in terms of the 10 games that we have compared to the other teams, is obviously on paper quite tough, but it's kind of it kind of comes down to, it might come down to what you said, Raj. If we win, let's just say we win the next 3, and I hate kind of doing this because it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. If we win the next 3, what did you say? It was like 18 points to get to that 72 points. Yeah. We're halfway there with 7 games to go. So, and again, like you say, it doesn't work like that. You can't look at it like that. But then it kind of almost makes like Chelsea away, you could potentially still lose that, or lose that and still go into United game in a very, very, very good position. So yeah, like I say, that's the main thing for me. It's the next 3 games. I think like Brighton are in awful form at the moment. Like they're just free falling. I think they've lost like the last 5 or something. So I kind of, and a home game against Brighton, I expect us to win that. We've got plenty of rest in between each of those games as well. I think it's pretty much a week in between each of those games. So yeah, I do expect us to get very close to taking maximum points from those games, assuming that we have everyone basically fit and available to play.
Would you go a step further? So Aaron, and if we win our next 3 games, let's just say we lose to Chelsea, but let's just say then we go on and beat United, who obviously are a direct rival in this. So essentially, we won 4 out of our last 5. If we go on and win 4 out of our next 5, is it in the bag?
It's never going to be in the bag, but
is that just because you're being cautious? But in reality,
even if we had mathematically qualified,
yeah,
for 4th place on the final day, I will still go to that game very nervous that we're going to have to because I've seen us do some weird things. So I don't think any of us, I think we're probably all the same thing, that in the back of our minds, we're like, okay, at some point this could go very wrong very quickly, because this is completely new territory for all of us, right? None of us were predicting we would be in the race for a top 4 place. Like, being honest, I think I said 5th would be a good finish for us. I think you guys might have even said 6th. None of us said 4th. So we're above. Yeah, so I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think, unless it's mathematically done, I don't think we'll ever be confident that it's in the bag, because also we don't know how this team are going to react to the pressure of being in a pressure situation of go out and win this game and you get it.
But you say that, but haven't we been in that for the last few weeks?
We haven't, not really, though. We haven't really been in the situation where it's like go and get 3 points from your next 6 and you qualify for the Champions League. Like,
okay, so
final hurdle.
Okay.
Yeah. Or say, like, for example, you've got to get 6 points left. So I think we'll get close. But I think it will still come down to the last game of the season, or even the last game of the season. And then that's going to be a tough one, right? When you've got a home game against Everton, and let's just say, for example, if at the start of the season, someone told you that we'll go to the last game needing a win at home against Everton to qualify for the Champions League, you would have bit their arm off, right? But the players in that situation, we have no idea. What if Mikel Arteta all of a sudden pulls a Pep Guardiola in the Champions League style thing and just does something really weird, like playing Granit Xhaka up front?
But mate, he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, that'll just be mental. Like, not that example, but obviously we don't have a Pep squad, right? We don't have a
but he, like, what if he just overthinks it? Didn't he do something really weird in one of those games?
I mean, what can he do though, mate? You're talking like he might start in Nketiah or like
a right back.
Yeah. No, but like. What my point is, actually, like, when we're in this period now, is actually okay. Like, if we get us, like, what I'd rather do is somehow Spurs and United and West Ham fall away, and actually it gets to like the end of April, and we just basically get there by accident. That would be ideal. And what I'm really worried about is when the pressure's on.
Yeah.
How is this young team going to handle it? I don't know.
And in fairness, right? Like, I think we're probably doing the right thing, and I hope Arsenal are doing the same thing, where they are just looking at their fixtures and they're just kind of going.
I hope they'll listen to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yes, we do have a tough set of fixtures, but like, I don't think everyone else is a walk in the park at all. And I think even the next set of fixtures, right? We've got Palace away, which I think is going to be really hard, because it's always hard for us. We don't tend to have a great record away from Palace. Like, I can't remember. We tend to go to most of Palace away games, and I can't remember seeing us win at Palace. But we've got that. If we win, that'll be huge. If we look at the team, if we look at our competition, Man United have got Leicester. Leicester, you never know. You never know Leicester. Like, you really don't know with Leicester, and with West Ham and Tottenham, they're playing one another.
Yeah, Man United have got to go to Anfield, right? Or they're playing Liverpool at some point.
Yeah. I don't think that one's been scheduled yet. I think there's Man United have got a game that hasn't been scheduled yet agaest someone.
I think Liverpool's in the weekend.
Oh, okay.
That one's confirmed. It might be another one.
Okay.
You're right. It's still very early, and there is the off chance that Chelsea could get dragged into this as well somehow. Like, if we beat Chelsea, if we win all our games in hand, I think we'll finish third. If we win every single game,
yeah.
I've gone from one extreme to the other.
I went to ask you guys a question there because I think on the one of the last episodes, the last one or the one before, we were talking about basically top four and which team basically out of United and Spurs, which is kind of the most dangerous threat to us. And I felt like United were, and you guys felt like Tottenham were. Now, given that United just beat Spurs the other day, has that changed? I know Spurs. I think they won since, didn't they? I think they
won midweek.
Yeah,
Brighton was it? I can't remember who they played. Sorry, but my question was, has that changed? So, do you still stick to that? You feel like Spurs are still the biggest threat?
I personally still think Spurs are the biggest threat because I still think that with United, the defense for me is still a car crash. And there's still so many random cohesion issues going on there that I genuinely don't know what Man United are going to turn up. In fairness, you could turn around and say the same thing about Tottenham. You genuinely could, like when you look at their results. But the Conte factor, I think, is important, and there's something, and I want to say Spurs' running out of all of ours is the most straightforward. So
I feel like it is, yeah.
There's that. The fact that we're going away there, I think I'm so intrigued as to when that game gets scheduled. And I feel so lucky to, have tickets to go to that game because it could be such a defining game. It could be arguably like the biggest, most meaningful North London derby in years. Depending on when
it could potentially be the penultimate game of the season, right?
Yeah,
they could schedule it before the last game of the season, so midweek. I don't know.
Depending on how results go, it could be.
I think they want to, and I think that's why they're delaying.
Imagine that is like a go there and win, and you qualify top. You finish top four, or not. Like, yeah, you're right.
I mean, in an ideal world, I know this probably is less exciting for you guys who are going, but it could be a dead rubber too.
Yeah,
which is actually like I'm hoping actually, if it's like the penultimate game of the season, we might have already qualified, which would be lovely. I think that's very, very unlikely to happen because I'm almost certain we will almost certainly drop probably quite a few points between now and the end that game.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, I'm not confident both Man United or Spurs will put runs together either. So they're probably looking at us and saying we're out of the three, and we're completely forgetting West Ham. West Ham could still do this. Anyone could put a run together, but we are probably the most capable of doing that because we have been doing that. You're right. I don't think Man United are capable of putting a good run together because they just haven't been able to do so all season. Spurs are the ones I do think can put a run together, especially because they've got easier fixtures. And Kane's firing now. Kulusevski's playing pretty well. So is Son. And their defense has tightened up again. So, yeah, I still think Spurs, but if they lose to West Ham tomorrow, then you'd probably say that actually Man United are probably the biggest threat again.
It'll be interesting. Well, guys, look, I think unless anyone's got any closing remarks, I think we'll leave it there. We've got international break, so it's going to be a little bit of a while before we record. But fingers crossed no one bloody gets injured in the next 2 weeks. But it's a fantastic way to enter an international break, right? After a win, it's so different when you win versus losing going into a break like this. So it's great. So it's a good time to be an Arsenal fan. And look, I really appreciate you guys and your time. Sorry, but I know I carried on talking there. Do you actually have any closing remarks?
No,
you should think it's a nice ending.
Ask people to subscribe again.
Yeah. Anyway, if you lasted this long on the pod, please do. You owe it to yourself. You clearly liked it. So,
or you've just forgotten.
Yeah, you just left on and fell asleep, but now you've woken up.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Enjoy the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
See you, bye.